All right, we are joined by Gordie Johnson of Big Sugar. Good morning or good afternoon, Gordie. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good, man. We caught you in Texas apparently right now.
Yes, she did. I'm at home in Texas. Had a great gig last night at the Continental Club with my little side project, Snakes of Central Texas. Just something to keep me limber and get warmed up for a Big Sugar tour in December.
Yeah, you'll be at the venue, George Street in Peterborough, on Wednesday night, December the 7th. So, how did you keep busy during the COVID lockdown? Like so many other musicians and artists, you couldn't tour.
I kept pretty busy. I have my own studio here, like a video production and audio production. So I was able to keep working, mixing records for artists that would just send me stuff over the internet. I could record tracks here. I could play everything myself, and I made a lot of video stuff. I started a YouTube channel, like one does, and
Yeah, yeah.
started making little videos about how I tune my guitars and what guitars I use for this and use for that, and
Yeah.
answer people's questions. And that was really fun. I kind of I kind of miss those days.
Talking about guitars, and that's funny you mentioned it. That's one thing I wanted to ask you. Do you have a rough count of how many guitars you have?
No,
Like, is it over 20, over 50, over, you know,
it's over 50.
it's
Yes.
over 50. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yes, there are several. Just because over the years we've toured so much, so many places, it's good to have them stashed in different locations. Because in the old days we used to keep everything. When we were based in Toronto, we kept everything in Toronto,
Right.
and then you would have to ship stuff to where you were going. Like if you were playing Halifax one night, and then the next night you had to be in Vancouver, you putting all your guitars on an airplane, super expensive, and
Sure.
hope they get there. And even if you had to stick them in a truck or something, it was like you needed a week to get them somewhere. So now we just have rock and roll
Yeah.
arsenal stashed away in 3 different locations in North America, and then
Yeah.
all we have to do is show up, and our rock and roll machines will be there waiting for us.
And I
But I
know
have
you love playing the double neck guitar. Now I just play acoustic guitar, but I have no idea how that, like, what's the concept of the double neck? I understand there's two different. So is one a different in a different tune, or how does that work? One neck.
no, the standard setup is there's a 6 string neck and a 12 string neck,
Ah,
right?
okay.
And
Okay.
when we first started using them, I guess the premise for that was like when I got hip to it from Alex Lifeson of Rush. He hit me to the double necks.
Mhm.
And we were using the 12 string neck instead of, like, in the studio you could grab an acoustic guitar and strum your way through the verse, and then the big rock part of the song dropped and you went to you go to a 6 string guitar. But when you're playing live, you can't just dropping into some acoustic guitar for a minute. So with the 12 string, it's nice and chimey. You
Right.
can use the 12 string as your chimey part and then play your solos on the 6 string neck. Was a little easier. But
Huh.
that evolved into, oh, but what if I play my big heavy rock and roll sound on the 12 string guitar? It sounds like 2 guitars.
Sure.
So then I started doing that, and that just turned into a whole thing. I play
Yeah.
a lot of folk blues and slide guitar as well, just
Okay.
in my just being me.
Yep.
So having a 12 string neck to play slide guitar on was also a thing for me because I played slide guitar on a 12 string all the time in acoustic world. So to have that option to play electric 12 string as well was really great. And it just gives you more textures. You have an array of sounds that you can put into one song while holding one instrument. So I've got
Yeah.
quite good at flipping all them switches and knowing
Yeah.
what they all do. There's a lot of switch flipping, and every once in a while you can find them. If you go on the internet or go to your local guitar store, you'll find them occasionally. Not that expensive, because I think what happens is guys save their money for a long time to buy one
Yeah.
because they love Alex Lifeson or Jimmy Page or somebody, they get this idea in their head. They got to have a double neck guitar. It's so cool. The first time you hold one on a gig for any length of time,
It's kind of heavy.
it's the weight of two guitars because
Yeah.
duh, it's two guitars. uh, so unless you're a pretty sturdy fella, you're not probably hanging on to a double neck for much more than a photo shoot.
Yeah.
We use them in video shoots too. And that was murder because you'd like 12, 15 hours being on a location holding a double neck guitar. No, sir.
No thanks.
No.
This tour that you're going to bring to Peterborough on December the 7th, it's the Heated anniversary tour. Now, is
Yeah.
this the kind of tour where you're going to play the whole album in its entirety?
Yes.
Okay.
We've never played that entire record. There's some songs actually never got played live, even back in the day.
Hmm.
So it'll be interesting for us to celebrate the re-release of that record. Universal put out a gorgeous package, double disc vinyl, colored vinyl, lots of extra stuff in the liner notes and photographs and things like that. So it really is a great celebration of that record to go and play the entire thing. We'll play other stuff too.
Yeah.
It's an evening with Big Sugar where we do the Heated record start to finish, and then we'll take a little break, buy a t-shirt and a beer, and then we'll go and we'll play stuff from all the other records because there's a lot of other records.
One of the tunes that you actually released from that, you did a cover of the BTO tune "Let It Ride."
Yeah.
What brought you to do a cover of that song?
I remember that song. That was probably my first song that I got kind of obsessed with on the radio when I was a little kid. I'm talking like 9 years old, probably. I got a little transistor radio in my Easter basket one year. All the kids got them. They're little bright little Easter egg colors, but it's a little AM radio.
Right.
And my mom put a battery in it, and I could walk around outside, 9 years old, ride my little bike with my radio. That was cool as hell. And in those days where I was growing up, they had this radio station called CKLW. It was one of the most powerful stations in the region around the Great Lakes, Detroit. And they played Let It Ride by BTO. Felt like a couple times a day. But
Right.
if you think of all the great radio hits from the early 70s, you had a lot of, Gordon Lightfoot was on the radio all the time. And so there were some Canadian acts that were in amongst all that AM radio. This is before FM radio, right? Before that whole thing really got going. And I heard Let It Ride. That just coming out of an AM radio, I was fascinated with it. I was 9 years old. I didn't understand it, but I just loved that sound. It's like clean guitars, a dirty guitar. Like, man, that dude's voice. I loved Let It Ride. And so that was just a tune I carried around in the back of my head my whole career until you get to be a big boy, and then you're in the studio one day and you need something to do, and you go, oh, I know. Let's do that. And pretty cool for Heated because we had started doing a lot of work with Warren Haynes and Government Mule, and they were in town. I produced a song for them at that time. So I got Warren to stick around and play on that track with Big Sugar. So he's singing and playing on it as well. And all these years later, it's a real treat to hear that.
That's pretty cool. That's very cool. So you're going to be back on the road, touring in support of the Heated anniversary. What do you and the guys in the band do between stops? So you go, you play your show. What do you guys do for fun during your downtime?
Wow, that implies that there's downtime.
Okay,
There
that's true.
there really isn't any.
Okay.
Really, my day revolves around the quest to find coffee.
Yeah.
Once I've had that coffee, really anything else that's on the itinerary is just fine with me as long
Yeah.
as I've
Yeah.
had that. And I mean, like, I can't just go to my local Bucks, like I gotta
Yeah.
go to, I need to find some little Italian social hall or men's club or, Italian bakery, someplace that's got, Italian ladies in aprons making espresso behind the counter. That's my jam. If I get that,
Yeah.
it's a good day.
Don't come
That's
here. All I've got is a Keurig, so that's all I've got.
no, come on, Peterborough's got to have a good
No.
coffee.
Peterborough's got some great spots,
Okay,
but I'm saying don't come to my
you.
place because all I have is a Keurig, so that's all I've got. Listen, you formed Big Sugar in 1988, and I've always wondered, where did the name come from, Big Sugar?
We were called the Mean Red Spiders. We spent months trying to come up with a name, and we finally came up with a name, a logo, a little cartoon spider thing. It was going to be great. The Mean Red Spiders, our first gig at the Horseshoe Tavern in Toronto, a lawyer walked up to the stage and handed us a cease and desist notice that his clients, the Mean Red Spiders, were going to sue us if we used the name. So, oh well, that ended badly. So we were feeling quite dejected. And we were sitting in a tavern the next day, moaning about our not having a name. And we used to hang out with a lot of stand-up comedians in those days. You have similar schedules, you have similar tastes. Comedians all want to be rock stars, and rock stars all think they're funny. So you can, you have a lot in common. And one of the comedians sitting at the table, quite hungover, apparently. We're all sitting there drinking coffee, and he opened a sugar packet, and obviously it had gotten wet at some point in the life of the bar. This sugar packet had got wet, so he opened his sugar, and it just came out in one giant square and splashed his coffee. And he said, "Oh, so I guess now we're using Big Sugar." And I went, "What did you say?"
Wow.
"Did you say Big Sugar?" He goes, "Yo, yeah. Did you see the size of that sugar?" I'm like, "Uh-huh." That's it.
That's it.
This conversation is over. That's it.
Yep.
It's Big Sugar from now on. And all the guys went, okay. If that's how it's going to be, sure. We're not trying to get, that's it.
That's it. That's the name. That's the name. And you talked about you have a recording studio, and I know that you've worked with artists, Gloria's Sons, Chris and Rich Robinson of the Black Crowes, Colin James, Default. Is that something that you, between touring, that's something you do at your studio? You get these, you work with other artists.
Yeah, I do that a lot. I do make records. I just had a band here doing their first record. They're from Canada, called Voodoo Shakedown. They were here for a week making their record, made an awesome heavy rock record with them. I work with a lot of reggae artists. I have artists that I work with from Jamaica, UK, Europe, all over the place. Same kind of thing. They send me vocal tracks, and I build a song around it and mix it, and off it goes. So my studio keeps me quite busy. Actually, it's you won't see it.
Sure.
I think
you don't mind.
Do this.
I'd love to.
I think I can do this.
Yeah.
Where is it? Can you see it? Where the heck is it? There's a tiny little square here. We're taking a walk, my friend. Hang on.
All right. Sounds good. How long have you been at that spot in Texas?
20 years.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
You see them shacks way down there?
Yeah.
That's it.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So I can, I can record and mix sitting outside, because this is winter here.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Right. I know.
Not to get all braggy about it, but this is winter in Texas.
I see your studios are far enough away that you can make as much noise as you want and not disrupt anyone in the house.
Yeah. Although my house doesn't feel that disrupted by music. It's
of course not. Yeah.
Going on all day, every day anyway. So
yeah. Well, listen, we are looking forward to seeing you and the guys in the band. It's the Wolf presenting Big Sugar at the Venue in Peterborough, Wednesday night, December the 7th. We have details under events at thewolf.ca. Gordie Johnson, thanks so much. Been a pleasure.
My pleasure talking to you.
Cheers.